Victorians are barred from entering all states and territories. From Friday night, any Victorians travelling to New South Wales will have to quarantine in a hotel for 2 weeks at their own expense. Travellers from all states and territories are barred from entering WA unless they have an exemption. Hotel quarantine is mandatory for anyone entering Tasmania, and travellers from hotspots are banned. Queensland's border is closed to residents of New South Wales, Victoria and the ACT. Laura Tingle is 7:30's chief political correspondent. Laura, the decisions today, especially the Queensland one to close the border to the ACT, where the ACT has not had a case for weeks, they don't seem motivated by the health statistics. So what is driving them?
Well, I think there are a couple of things, Lee. I think in the case of Queensland in particular, you've got to look at politics and the looming Queensland election. Now, if you were in any doubt that there was a political element to this decision, it should have been sort of resolved by the fact that very quickly after the Queensland Premier made the announcement, Queensland Labor was tweeting about how the LNP leader, Deb Frecklington, had actually been against border closures and had been so on 64 different occasions. Having said that, I don't think it's all about politics. I think all the states are getting very alarmed about the fact that people are clearly trying to get around the system, and that's been the justification for sort of banning people from the ACT from going to Queensland, because they're saying that people are travelling from hotspots in Sydney to Canberra to fly to Queensland. So I think all of this points to the fact that the sort of the broader politics, if you like, or the broader leadership issue for our politicians is that they don't want to lose control of this, either in a health sense or in the sense of their own credibility. And they've seen what's happening to Daniel Andrews in Victoria, and they don't want that to happen either politically or in terms of people just losing credibility and confidence that people can contain this.
The New South Wales move to force travellers from Victoria into 2 weeks of quarantine wasn't the advice of the National Health Advisory Committee. How do you read what's happening to the national consensus that's served the nation pretty well up until now?
I suspect that it's not necessarily broken down in acrimony, but of course people are very sort of agitated about what's happened in Victoria. But I think there is a recognition that to some extent, states and territories are going to start going their separate ways as they have. The situation in different states and territories is different, and people are just going to have to live with that. And I think that's changed the dynamics for the federal government as well.
Well, on those dynamics, the Prime Minister obviously has to take into account now Victoria's situation and how that impacts the national economy. We know it's a big impact. It means that the federal government has to tailor some policies specifically to work with Victoria, notably childcare today.
That's right. And really, essentially what's happening now is the Victorian situation is sort of driving federal policy, if you think about it. And as you mentioned, the childcare decision today to sort of extend subsidies to the childcare system in Victoria, they're not going back to the original system that was installed in the first wave of measures, sort of shows that the government's now having to say, right, well, this is going to happen in Victoria, but we've got to have our options open if we need to for it to be in other states. And we've actually seen the Prime Minister move just in a couple of days from saying, well, these are the various measures we're doing are just for Victoria because it's declared a state of disaster, to being much more clear that he will leave it open to make measures available for other states if and when that becomes necessary.
Laura Tingle, thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 7:30's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.